Me again. Can't get rid of me. Are you really wanting to succeed, but you have very few resources? Okay, there's a business you want to start, or you want to try new things, but you've got to earn a living, so you've got a job to go to, or you may have a young family, you may have no money. How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? Well, you can watch all the YouTube videos, which are fantastic, and some of them are amazing, but you'll see these people standing there, and behind them they've got this posh house and this great car and this fantastic life, and you can have all of this. But I don't know, it doesn't cut any ice with me. I'm pretty convinced that half the time they've hired these places anyway, but it doesn't reach me. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know about you. You might think, oh well, oh gosh, they've got the great house and loads of money. But then you'll also think, how the hell do I get from here to there? And it's really, I don't think it's that helpful. I think what we need to look at is reality. Okay, so this is where I stand now. I don't have a ton of money. I have to earn a living. I've got people dependent on me. I'm a bit nervous and, haven't got a great deal of confidence in this because it's new territory to me. What do I do? Well, first of all, you start with a bit of passion. Okay, you start to look at what it is you want to do. Okay, so people have often said to me, well, I want to start my own business. And I go, great, doing what? I don't know, to start my own business. Nah, that's never going to work. Never, ever, 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 ever. Okay, Anita Roddick, who started Body Shop, as far as I understand from everything I've read, she started in her kitchen. She started mixing her own stuff and bottling it, as far as I understand, and it advanced from there. She had a passion. If you look at anybody who's really successful, you will find they had a passion, be it for public speaking, be it for products or services, whatever it is. Passion is really, really important. Now you might think, well, I don't want to have any passion. Okay, well, start with an interest. Okay, well, I'm interested in this and I'm drawn to it. I've got a bit of a calling towards it. I always feel kind of good when I'm doing it. Start with that. So, for example, you may love doing up old furniture and you may think, oh, that's just a hobby. Well, okay, but it is a hobby that can get you on the pathway. Do you know what I mean? You might love making cakes and you might think, oh yeah, but there's loads of people out there make cakes. Absolutely. There are billions of people who make cakes. Always room for another one. And anyway, you may have something unique and different. So whatever it is that you enjoy and you like the idea of, okay, look at it again. And what you have to do is start with one step at a time. So say, for example, you make one cake and you sell it and you make a £5 profit on it. You are in business, do you understand? You've made a cake, you've sold it, and you've made a profit. You're in business. That's where it starts. One cake. You may love the idea of interior design, so you offer to do somebody's living room for them, a friend or somebody you know, and they pay for the materials, but you charge them a bit of money for doing it. You're in business. Do you understand? You're an interior designer now. And rather than sort of just dreaming about things and analysing things and then doing nothing about it, rather than sitting watching soaps or going on Facebook or whatever it is that you spend a reasonable amount of time doing. I mean, everyone goes on Facebook, well, most people do. People watch TV, but you know what I'm saying? Take some time to do some research. Have a look what other people are doing. Get some ideas. Get a bit of a portfolio together, okay? And that way, you're already in the world of business. Now, okay, you can't go from A to Z in one fell swoop. You're not going to suddenly wake up tomorrow and be Richard Branson. That's true, you're not. So be realistic. Over time, you get more experience. People are always asking me about my line of work. I'm an intuitive consultant, okay? I give consultations. I use my intuitive capacity to do so. I am not a psychic. I have worked very hard to distance myself from the silly world of well, I'm not trying to be insulting. There are lots of very, very good people out there who call themselves psychic, they use the term. Years ago, I used to use the term, but I was never happy with it, and I've certainly never in my entire life claimed to have a gift of a sixth sense. It's a ridiculous concept, because every human being is born with two aspects of two sides of their brain, if you like, the left and the right. One is logical and rational, the other one is intuitive and creative. And some scientists have even said they've pinpointed the part of the brain that is responsible for the sixth sense. So if we're going to talk about gifts, everybody on the planet has some form of a gift. But you cannot say that people who use the psychic capacity to work are gifted. They may be gifted in dealing with people, they may be gifted in this way or that way, but it's not a claim that I respect or admire. Now, people have asked me many times over the years, oh, how do you do what you do? I'd love to learn, but I don't have the confidence. And they'll go out and they'll buy a book, or they'll buy this, or they'll use cards, because cards are great, tarot cards are great, you know, they're not spooky, they're pieces of paper with pictures on the front, but I find them really interesting, and they tend to guide my intuitive mind, just the way it works for me. But I'll say the only way you learn to do this job is by doing it. That is the only way. You can read all the books under the sun, you can play around with the cards. You have to start working with people. So you can start with guinea pigs. I don't mean little furry creatures, but you know, people who say, oh yeah, go on, do it for me, do it for me. And of course, to develop your intuitive capacity, it's more than just doing that. You've got to expand your consciousness. You've got to have curiosity. You've got to be willing to learn. You've got to study the world. You've got to study people. You've got to study emotion. You've got to study. Do you understand? You've got to absorb information. Really, that is the way you develop your intuitive capacity. So yes, lots of people say, I'd love to do what you're doing. Well, it's not easy, because, you know, people don't come to see people like me when they're really happy or they know where they're going. They come because they're lost or they're stuck or they've got problems. And, you know, it's a big responsibility. But over time, you learn how to do it. You learn how to read people. You learn, you know, you learn what you're capable of. And it's the same with any business. Whether you start off fixing your dad's car and then you do it for other people, whether you're painting your best friend's living room and she's giving you a few pounds, whether you're making a cake for the lady up the road for her anniversary, it's still business. I write. I am not being paid professionally to write. I nearly had a book deal in 2003, I think it was, yeah. And then it all slithered away at the very last minute. So what? It was an experience. But, you know, if you want to write, you write. So I write blogs, I write on Facebook, and not just, you know, little bits and bobs. I put insights on Facebook. You know, I write short stories and poetry as well, and I put those out there and people read them. So I'm a writer. I'm not going to only call myself a writer if I'm on the bestseller list and I'm earning millions from it. If you write, you write. If you bake cakes, you're a baker. If you paint, decorate, you're an interior designer, or you're a painter and decorator. You know, whatever it is, if you're doing it, you're right. If you paint pictures, even if you're not making millions from them, and you regularly paint, and you put them out there in the world. If you sell one painting, you're a painter. Do you understand? And so you build from there. But if you are caught up with the idea of glitz and success, then that's something different. So, you know, when you watch programs like X Factor, etc., and you will see young people saying, this is the only opportunity I'll ever have. You're 18, for goodness sake. How is it the only opportunity you'll ever have? So here's the thing. Do people want to sing, or do they want to be famous? I mean, it's possible to do both, of course, because we've seen, you know, there are famous singers out there all over the world. But, you know, what are we going there for? Are we going there because we really love singing? If we want to sing, we can sing. We can sing everywhere. We can give our services, you know, to, you know, old folks' homes or whatever it is. We can busk. We can sing. We can make CDs of our own. We can just do them in our bedroom and sell them, you know. But do we want to become rich and famous? Well, that's another matter altogether, isn't it? So if you want to be successful at what you do, you have to do more of it. If you don't have much time, use the time you do have, okay? Just use the time you do have. And, you know, as life passes by, whatever circumstances you're in now, they're not going to stay the same. So if you've got young children, they're not going to be little children forever. in a blink of an eye, they'll be older and they won't be wanting to hang around with you all the time, and you'll have more time. But you could procrastinate. I have friends who do this. One particular friend, and I'm sure if she ever sees this, she'll know who she is. A very talented sewing machinist, if that's the right word. Very talented. And then she had a workshop at the back of the house, and she had all the materials. And, you know, I would speak to her and I'd say, you know, oh, what are you doing? Well, I'm not in the workshop because I've just got to tidy up. And when I've got all this sorted out, then I'll go and do it. Now she had 2 young children and a husband who would come in and dump his paperwork and God knows what all over the place. So she was never going to get on top of the housework. It was a form of procrastination, which was a form of fear. Very, very talented. And I one day said to her, well, look, okay, why don't you use the skills you've got and teach other people? I would love to be able to sew the way that she could. You know, you've got this workshop, you could get a couple of people in, charge them and teach them to sew. And she said, oh, can't do that. They might steal my business. And I said, what business is this? What business are they going to steal? Because she wasn't developing her business, do you understand? And somebody once said to me, oh, I wouldn't teach other people to do what you can do. They might steal all your customers. And I went, hey, well, great. If they're so good that they can come in and steal all my customers, do you know what? I'll go and do something else. Something else will open up for me. So can you see how negative we can be and how we can put blocks in our own way, largely through fear, okay? So we're all going to feel fearful. There's no way to avoid fear. You know, courage is not having no fear. Courage is having fear and getting out there anyway. So if you want to be successful, you don't have the time, the resources, you know, the money, then you have to do it step by step. And what you're doing is you're putting out this energy to the great force of life. You're giving it a message. You're saying, look, I'm open for business. You're expanding your own consciousness. And over time, life will respond. I promise you it will. But if you stay there in the same place, doing the same things every day, going, well, I don't have time. I want to do it, but I don't have time. You know, or I don't have enough money. Then you're giving a completely different message to life and it's going to bypass you. Okay? So it's not easy, I know. I have been incredibly, horribly skint in my life. I can promise you I have. But I'll tell you something else. Being skint pushed me to expand my horizons. They really did. It's like a terrier nipping at your heels. And, you know, necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. And so we're either going to be motivated by desperation or inspiration. Okay, so at least be inspired. You know, you may not be the best at what you do on the entire planet. That's no reason not to do it. You know, you may want to paint, but you may never be, I don't know, a Vincent van Gogh, or, you know, you may want to be a musician, and you may never end up singing like Adele. Does it matter? Does it matter? No, it doesn't, because out there in the world there will be demand for you and for your service. Okay, I promise you. So you have to start one step at a time, and you have to put your interest into it, and you have to commit some personal time to it. Even if you only have a small amount of time, you commit it. Okay, and you keep going, one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and life will start to help you. I promise. Okay then, right. Good luck with your projects and your plans. Bye. Got to look for the button on the screen here.